The young actor was in the middle of his most emotional scene. And John Wayne stood up. Monument Valley, Utah. September 1976. The last great Western. Dust hung in the desert air, suspended in shafts of late afternoon light. The film crew had been shooting for 11 hours. Everyone was tired. The director wanted one more take before losing the sun. The scene was simple. A young cowboy, played by a 23-year-old actor named Michael Bradshaw, discovering his father's body after an ambush. 2 pages of dialogue. Most of it internal monologue delivered to a dead man who couldn't answer back. Michael had been preparing for this scene all week. It was his big moment. His chance to prove he belonged on screen with John Wayne. His chance to show he wasn't just another Hollywood kid playing dress-up in borrowed boots. The cameras rolled. Michael knelt beside the body, a stunt performer lying motionless in the dust, fake blood darkening his shirt. Michael's voice cracked on cue. His hands trembled as scripted. He was giving the performance of his young life. John Wayne sat 30 feet away in a canvas director's chair, his name stenciled across the back in faded letters. He was in full costume, worn leather vest, faded shirt, that iconic silhouette against the desert sky. He wasn't in this scene. He was just watching, waiting for his own coverage later. But something in Michael's performance made Wayne lean forward. The young actor was delivering his lines perfectly, hitting every mark. His voice breaking in all the right places. Technically flawless. And completely, utterly hollow. Wayne's jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed, not with anger, but with recognition. With memory. With something that looked almost like pain. Michael reached the emotional climax of the scene. "I should have been here," he said to the dead stunt performer, tears streaming down his face. "I should have protected you. I should have." John Wayne stood up. Wayne didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The movement itself was enough. 6'4", 240 pounds of presence rising from a chair. The entire set felt it. "Cut!" the director called, confused. "John, we're in the middle of—" "I know," Wayne said quietly. His voice carried across the set the way it always did, not loud, but impossible to ignore. "I need a minute with the kid." Michael was still kneeling in the dust, frozen, mortified. Had he ruined the take? Had he missed a mark? What had he done wrong? Wayne walked toward him. Slow steps. Deliberate. His boots crunching on the desert floor. The entire crew watching. 60 people holding their breath. He stopped in front of Michael and extended his right hand, not to shake, but palm down. An offer to help him stand. Michael took it. Wayne pulled him to his feet with the easy strength of a man who'd spent 50 years working with horses and stunt doubles and heavy camera equipment. They stood face to face. Wayne's hand moved to the young actor's shoulder. A gentle pressure. The kind of touch that says, "Stay here, listen to this matters." "You're doing everything right," Wayne said. His voice was quiet. Only Michael could hear him clearly, though the boom microphones would catch fragments. "Technically. Perfect performance. Exactly what the script calls for." Michael swallowed hard, unsure where this was going. "But you don't know what you're saying," Wayne continued. "Do you, sir?" "I should have been here," Wayne quoted back to him. "You're saying it like a line. Like words on a page. But you don't carry it. You don't know what it weighs." The young actor's face flushed. "I'm trying to." "I know you are." Wayne's grip on his shoulder tightened slightly. Not harsh. Anchoring. "That's the problem. You're trying to feel something you've never felt. And that's not your fault. But it's why this scene isn't working." Silence. The desert wind moved through the canyon. Somewhere a crew member shifted weight, canvas chair creaking. Wayne looked past Michael, out toward the horizon where the sun was lowering toward the mesas. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Quieter. Older. "I was in California when Pearl Harbor was hit. Michael blinked, not understanding the shift. December 7th, 1941. I was 34 years old. Already making movies. Already playing cowboys and soldiers. Republic Pictures had me under contract. John Ford wanted me for a war picture. Wayne's hand stayed on the young actor's shoulder, but his eyes were somewhere else. Somewhere decades away. Every man I knew enlisted. Every single one. Jimmy Stewart. Henry Fonda. Clark Gable. My stunt doubles. The grips. The cameramen. They all went. The studios emptied out. Everyone who could hold a rifle went to hold one. The set had gone completely quiet. Even the director had stopped fidgeting with his viewfinder. And I didn't go. 4 words. Delivered with the flat certainty of a man stating a fact he'd lived with for 35 years. I had dependents. 4 kids. A contract. The studio heads told me I was more valuable making pictures. Keeping morale up. I told myself I'd go later. After one more film. After the next one. After. He stopped. Drew a breath. I never went. The war ended and I never served. Not one day. And every man who came back looked at me different. Because I'd spent 4 years playing soldiers while they'd been dying as soldiers. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding. Michael stood very still. The hand on his shoulder had become the only real thing in the world. I made war pictures anyway. Wayne continued. The sands of Iwo Jima. The fighting Seabees. Back to Bataan. I played Marines and Army Rangers and pilots. I died heroically on screen a dozen times. And every premiere, every screening, I sat in the audience knowing it was a lie. Knowing I'd never earned the right to wear those costumes. He looked back at Michael. Really looked at him. You know that line you're saying? I should have been here? I've been saying that line for 35 years. Not in front of cameras. In my head. Every time I meet a veteran. Every time someone thanks me for my service and I have to smile and nod and not tell them I never served. Every time I put on a uniform for a movie and know I'm wearing something I never earned. Wayne's voice had dropped to barely above a whisper, but every person on that set heard it. That's what that line weighs, kid. That's what guilt sounds like when it's real. When you carry something you can never put down. When you should have been somewhere and you weren't, and you can never, ever fix it. The young actor's eyes were wet. Not performance tears. Real ones. So when you say those words, Wayne said, his hand finally lifting from Michael's shoulder, say them like you'll be saying them for the rest of your life. Because that's what the character is feeling. That's what makes it matter. He stepped back. Nodded to the director. He's ready now. Away from the cameras, Wayne made a choice no one expected. The director called for the cameras to reset. Michael walked back to his mark, his legs unsteady. The stunt performer resumed his position on the ground. Rolling. The assistant director called. Action. Michael knelt in the dust. He looked at the body of his fictional father. And when he spoke, when he said, I should have been here, something had changed. His voice didn't crack on cue. It broke. Genuinely broke. Because he wasn't reading a line anymore. He was channeling something real. Something borrowed from a man who'd carried it for 35 years. The grief wasn't performed. It was witnessed. Secondhand. But real. When he finished the scene, Michael stayed on his knees for a long moment. The camera kept rolling. The director didn't call cut. Everyone understood they just captured something that couldn't be scripted. Cut! The director finally whispered. Print that. We got it. The crew was silent. Not the silence of professionalism. The silence of people who just witnessed something private happen in public. John Wayne had returned to his director's chair. He sat very still, his hands folded in his lap. His face was unreadable behind his sunglasses. But his jaw was tight and his breathing was careful, the way a man breathes when he's holding something down. Michael walked over to him. The young actor was still shaking. He didn't know what to say. Wayne looked up at him. Removed his sunglasses. His eyes were red. "That was real," Wayne said simply. "You gave it to me," Michael replied. "I didn't have it. But you gave it to me." Wayne nodded slowly. He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a small object, a military challenge coin. Bronze. Worn smooth. A Marine Corps emblem barely visible. "A gunnery sergeant gave this to me in 1949, Wayne said, pressing it into Michael's palm. "After The Sands of Iwo Jima premiered. He said even though I never served, I'd help people understand what it cost. He said that mattered." Michael looked down at the coin, feeling its weight. "I've carried that for 27 years, Wayne said. Wondering if he was right. Wondering if playing soldiers without being one makes me a liar or a storyteller." He closed Michael's fingers around the coin. "You keep it now. And every time you play someone carrying something heavy, you remember, it's not about the performance. It's about honoring the weight. About not making it look easy. About showing people that some things can't be put down." But what followed would stay with everyone who witnessed it, forever. Michael Bradshaw finished that film. He worked steadily for the next 40 years. He never became a household name. But he became known as an actor who brought truth to small roles. Who made grief look real. Who understood weight. He kept the challenge coin in his pocket for every single performance. Until 2016, when he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Before he died, he had his daughter drive him to the Marine Corps War Memorial in Washington, D.C. He placed the coin at the base of the Iwo Jima statue. The note he left with it said, "From Duke. He carried it so I could learn what carrying means. Now it goes home." A Marine veteran found it 3 days later. The story made military blogs. Someone tracked down Michael's daughter. She told them about Monument Valley. About her father's career-changing scene. About the moment John Wayne stopped to teach a young actor what guilt weighs. The challenge coin sits in the National Museum of the Marine Corps now. In a small display case. Next to a photo of John Wayne from the sands of Iwo Jima. The placard reads, "Never served. Never stop serving." Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. John Wayne died in 1979. 3 years after that day in Monument Valley. He never spoke publicly about not serving in World War II. But everyone who worked with him knew. Everyone who watched him put on a uniform for a film saw the way he carried himself, not with stolen valor, but with permanent apology. That day on set, when he stopped a young actor mid-performance, he wasn't teaching technique. He was passing on weight. Because real strength isn't pretending nothing's heavy. It's carrying it anyway. The documentary crew that captured behind-the-scenes footage of that production kept the audio recording of Wayne's words to Michael. For 30 years, it sat in an archive labeled simply, "Wayne Personal Do Not Use." In 2006, the director's son found the tape while cataloging his late father's estate. He called Michael Bradshaw and asked if it could be released. Michael was 73 by then. He listened to it over the phone. His own young voice, Wayne's weathered drawl, the desert wind in the background. "Release it," Michael said. "People should hear what he carried." The audio appeared in a documentary about Hollywood and World War II. Film students studied it. Acting teachers played it in classes. Veterans groups discussed it. Because Wayne had done something most people never do. He named his shame out loud. Not for absolution. Not for sympathy. But to show a young actor what real emotional weight feels like. The filming location in Monument Valley is marked now. Not officially. But crew members who worked on that production sometimes bring their own children there, point to the spot where Wayne stood, and tell the story. A small pile of stones sits there. People leave challenge coins. Military patches. Photos of fathers and grandfathers who did serve. And occasionally, someone leaves a handwritten note. "I should have been there." Because Wayne taught people that acknowledging what you carry doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. An honest weight, carried with honor, is the only kind worth bearing. The last film John Wayne made was The Shootist in 1976. He played an aging gunfighter dying of cancer. Just like he was. In the final scene, his character sits alone in a boarding house room, looking at his guns one last time. Wayne insisted on one additional piece of direction. His character would touch a small military medal on the dresser, something never mentioned in the script, never explained. Some things, Wayne told the director, you carry to the end. He died before anyone could ask him what that medal meant. But everyone who knew him understood.